Ladies and gentlemen, from the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace and Justice, Deacon Gerald Celente.
Hello, this is Deacon Celente of the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace and Justice. And boy, oh boy, and boy, oh girl, and girl, oh boy, we better have some freedom, peace, and justice real soon, because this may be the last year of humanity on earth, as the evil demons and satanic leaders of hatred and war escalate World War III into nuclear destruction. From antiwar.com, report: U.S. moles sending small number of troops into Ukraine to track weapons. Oh, wait, we're going to send American troops into Ukraine to track weapons? What does that mean? Well, as you read the article, it said the NBC report said that Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, this is Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense of the United States, which calls itself a democracy, that sat on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor in the United States. That Lloyd Austin. The Lloyd Austin of the top of the military-industrial complex, now telling we, the people, about what they will do with our money to keep the war machine building. NBC reports said that Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is considering increasing the small troop presence. They keep using the term small. What that means back in the day, that's called mission creep. Mission creep. They say that there's a small number, so they get you used to it. Oh yeah, there's only a small number there. Oh, and now we're sending a few more for this, and some more for that, and some more for this, and some more for that. And then the explosion happens. Mission creeping us into war. The NBC report said that Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin is considering increasing the small troop presence, you ready? To enhance the oversight mission. Mission? America's on a mission in Ukraine. Experts in country, Ukraine, to help Ukraine use critical weapons systems. In other words, they're sending American troops there to fire the weapons. And then they go on. Politico reported that the U.S. is considering other measures with this weapons thing, and they're hiring an unnamed private firm to launch a 3-year initiative to aid in oversight. Those are called mercenaries. This is demonic, it's satanic, it's evil that is escalating World War III to the end of life on earth. Oh, I'm going to build a bomb shelter. Oh, isn't that wonderful? You'll be in a bomb shelter as the earth is going into the new ice age that they say will last for over 2,000 years from nuclear war. And you're going to come back from your tunnel shelter and come back to earth and be so happy. Every day will be so joyful. The great restaurants, the music, the family, wonderful, wonderful times will be destroyed. The Intercept recently reported the U.S. Special Operations Forces and CI personnel are also inside the country, but the U.S. hasn't officially acknowledged the covert campaign. Yep. And then U.S. troops deployed near Russian border. The United States Infantry Company arrived in Estonia this week as part of NATO's effort to boost its deterrence on the military alliance's eastern border, the Baltic countries' defense ministry has revealed. The statement published in the ministry website on Friday said that U.S. service members are stationed at Taara, T-A-A-R-A base in the town of Voru, V-O-R-U. One of their primary tasks is to train Estonian military personnel to enhance the two armies' interoperability. What is the U.S. service members doing over there? That's not our country. We have no business being in NATO. I'm an American. I am a true American. My blood is Italian. My heart's American. I believe in George Washington. No foreign entanglements, particularly in Europe, because of all of the centuries of fighting going on there. You're an American. This is your country. That's their fight. Those are their problems. We're not going to solve them. We have our own problems here to solve that we can't solve. Colonel Richard Ikena, U.S. 1st Infantry Division artillery commander, said American troops, quote, are excited to be in Estonia. Isn't that wonderful? The troops are excited to be in Estonia. Are they excited that maybe a war will happen and they could kill people or get killed? And look forward to working shoulder to shoulder alongside our allies. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, a Yankee Doodle do or die. The statement added that Washington is also expected to deploy a HIMARS platoon to Estonia along with associated command and control equipment and systems. Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur said this would allow Estonian troops, quote, to learn the ropes of operating the multiple launch rocket systems. Isn't this wonderful? Yep. Moscow, in turn, has repeatedly condemned the buildup of the alliance's forces on its borders and the funneling of arms into Ukraine, saying this will only prolong the conflict without changing the outcome. And unfortunately, they are correct. Or fortunately, they are correct. We said this in the beginning. Ukraine's not going to beat the Russians. If Americans didn't keep the war machine going, this would have ended a long time ago. Senator Chucky Schumer says Ukraine aid will be included in the omnibus bill. This is a few days ago, on Tuesday. And that omnibus bill means the United States is going to send another $37.7 billion to Ukraine, as 63% of the American people are working paycheck to paycheck. And as the retail sales numbers just came out, retail sales are down 0.6%, but actually much, much higher when you put inflation into it because people can't afford to buy things. But another almost $40 billion going to Ukraine, which will now bring the number up, according to antiwar.com, $105 billion of taxpayer money. Yep. The Pentagon said in October the U.S. military personnel based in the U.S. Embassy in Kyiv were conducting on-site weapons inspections in Ukraine. Yep. So they're at war. And then this is a very important article because it shows you how these demonic people that call themselves journalists keep selling propaganda, hate, and hysteria and keep taking us to war, like the New York Times. The New York Times that lied Americans into the Iraq War, saying Saddam Hussein was getting these aluminum tubes from Niger or something, and it was proof that he had weapons of mass destruction. A total lie. And now one of their liars in chief, Nicholas Kristof, who joined the New York Times in 1984, has been a columnist since 2001. Oh yeah, the war on terror just began then. He has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes for his coverage of China and of the genocide in Darfur. He's been with them since 2001. How come he didn't cover America, its illegal, immoral, and lying wars of Afghanistan and Iraq that killed well over 1 million people, cost the American people several $trillion, destroyed entire cities? How come he didn't write about that genocide? Why? Because he's a member of the mainstream media. And that, of course, is why I am a true believer in the Trends Journal. That gives you the facts, not the propaganda. Are we in the West weaker than Ukrainians? Is the headline of his column in the New York Times. Quote, "We will beat the Ukrainians out of you so that you love Russia." A Russian interrogator told one torture survivor I spoke to in Ukraine before he whipped her and raped her. That seems to be a good summation of Vladimir Putin's strategy. Do you see how he just put Vladimir Putin into raping and whipping a woman? And this is somebody that he spoke to, this Nicholas Kristof, propagandist. Where were the tortured by Americans in Iraq? Did he speak to any of them? Did he speak to any of the tortured by Americans from the Afghan war, the Libyan war, the Syrian war? Did he talk to any of those people being tortured by the people in Guantanamo or the CIA, as they have said, the torture that happened during the Iraq and Afghan war? Did he interview any of those talking about what they did, and could he have ended it with a pretty good summation of George W. Bush's wars, well, Junior's wars, of Clinton's wars, of Nixon's wars, of Barack Obama's wars? No. I'm reading this and telling you this because they are taking us to war. We are in World War III, and these are mentally deranged, evil, demonic people that would only write this. But I worry that we in the West are made of weaker stuff. Some of the most momentous decisions the United States will make in the coming months involve the level of support we will provide Ukraine. We? Who's the we? What about the we's that don't want to? The most involved, the level of support, the most momentous, you get it? World War III is escalating into nuclear destruction. We will provide Ukraine. And I have pushback from some readers who think President Biden is making a terrible mistake by resolutely helping Ukraine repel America, as 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, he didn't put that in there. He goes on to say, this woman says we're over our head in debt, but funding the war we shouldn't be involved in. He said enough is enough. Polls, blah blah blah, and and he said is something especially, and almost half Americans want the United States to push Ukraine, quote, to settle for peace as soon as possible, end quote, even if it loses territory. And this is what he writes: a finding that must gladden Vladimir Putin's heart. Must gladden Vladimir Putin's heart. Do you see the way they write propaganda? So let me make the case to Nancy and others for why we should continue to provide weaponry to Ukraine. Let me make a case? Who are you? Oh, I'm a propagandist. I write for the paper that lies you into war. We have a great track record of it. So you listen to me. My name is Nicholas Kristof. The fundamental misconception among many congressional Republicans and some progressive of the left, I'm not a congressional Republican, and I'm not a progressive on the left. I'm a thinking human being that doesn't belong to a crime syndicate. Is that we're doing Ukraine a favor by sending it weapons. Not so. That's right. That's what he says. Not so. We're not doing them a favor. We are holding Ukraine's coat as it sacrifices lives and infrastructure in ways that benefit us. Doesn't benefit us. It's making it worse. Put sanctions on them, and the price of everything is going up, particularly for the people in Europe. Benefit us by degrading Russia's military threat to NATO. Russia hasn't threatened. It's the opposite way around. NATO's threatened Russia. Oh, maybe you forgot to read what they had said, that when Gorbachev and Bush Sr. made the deal with James Baker, quote, NATO would not move 1 inch further. Oh, there were 16 NATOs back then. There are almost 30 now. So what is he talking about? That Russia's military threat to NATO, and Western Europe, and thus to us. They're not a threat to us. And then he quotes this murderer, military man, Wesley Clark. They're doing us a favor. They're fighting our fight. They're not doing us a favor fighting our fight. It's not my fight. I'm a fighter. That's not my fight. Wesley Clark. Oh, yeah, Kosovo, Yugoslav war. Great track record of murder. Yep. This is who they quote. They quote a general. A general. Supreme Commander, with all his little Boy Scout badges on him. If the war ends in a way favorable to Russia, he argues, it would be less safe for Americans. Pure propaganda. Pure propaganda. If Russia takes over Ukraine, how does that make us safe for me or you, wherever you are in America? Oh, you know why? Because then they'll escalate the war. Quote, if Ukraine falls, there will certainly be a wave of nuclear proliferation. Clark warned. Wait a minute, how could there be nuclear proliferation? And by the way, why quote a warmonger? Because that's who this boy is. This Nicholas Kristof. Goes on and on. Yep. I'm arguing for the West to stand with Ukraine. I've emphasized our national interest in doing so. You lied about our national interest. You emphasized nothing. Pure propaganda. You want more proof? It never stops. Hate sells. Hysteria sells. Fear sells. Soviet threatens rockets at spy bases. Tuesday, May 10th, 1960. So you read this, the Soviet threatens rockets at U.S. spy bases. So, number one, why do you have a spy base? But it's okay, you have one. And it looks like the Soviet rockets are threatening that spy base. So let's read what it says. Moscow, AP. Premier Nikita Khrushchev warned Monday night that Soviet rockets will shoot down any more spy planes that venture over Soviet soil, and his government will take appropriate countermeasures. Now, wait a minute. I thought the Soviets threatened to bomb a U.S. rocket base. Or threatened rockets to bomb a U.S. base. Soviet threatens rockets at spy bases. No. What the Soviets were doing was they were saying, stop flying over our country. You have no right doing this. Could you imagine if the Soviets flew over from sea to shining sea in America? What would the headline read? Would we allow it? But that's the way they use propaganda. And that's the way this Christoph is selling hate and propaganda. Yep. Let's not let Russia beat the Ukrainian out of us. The world could use a spinal transplant from brave Ukrainians. How's that for propaganda? He goes on to say also, when one nation invades a neighbor and commits murder, pillage, and rape, when it traffics thousands of children, of course, get that in there, just like they lied about the Saudis going into the hospitals in Kuwait and stabbing babies in the heart in hospitals. That was a total lie. Anyway, thousands of children, when it pulverizes the electric grid to make civilians freeze in winter, if such a blizzard of likely war crimes, in such a blizzard, he says civilians freeze in winter, so then he puts blizzard in there. In such a blizzard of likely war crimes, neutrality is not the high ground. No, Mr. Warmonger, peace is. And let's go back to the facts that you totally ignored, why this all happened. We are in the crisis of our lifetimes. Nuclear war is on the horizon. If we don't stop this, it's finished. Again, Christmas time, not a peep about peace. Don't hear it from the Pope, not the Protestants. We're the Jews. Don't hear it from the Muslims. Nope. Only propaganda hatred by the establishment. So please do what you can to support us, because we're doing everything we can to support peace. And I'm a warrior for the Prince of Peace. So please donate to the church, Universal Church of Freedom, Peace, Justice. FreedomPeaceJustice.com. 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 Or else we're going to die in a nuclear bomb. Amen and amen.